I am a professor emeritus from Weber State, which is a fancy way of saying I retired a year and a half ago. I taught sociology here for quite some time, and it's my honor to get to hang out and help out with this conference. So I am really delighted to welcome you all to Farming That Relaunches Lives and Builds Community. And speaking of building community, one thing that I've been noticing in the sessions today is that oftentimes I'm hearing phones. So let me ask you, help us build community in this room by making sure that your ringers are turned off on your phones. That would be great. And our speakers today are Carl Ebeling and Rachael Dixon, and they're also going to have a little help, but I'm going to let them introduce you to their other folks. Known as the Mr. Rogers of farming, Carl Ebeling, or Farmer Karl. I had to ask Carl how to pronounce his last name because he's always been Farmer Karl to me. But Farmer Karl leads with compassion and a mission to empower individuals through sustainable agriculture. After 33 years of corporate experience, he founded Edenstreets in 2020 to help people relaunch their lives through farming. His current project, Growogden, is an urban farm offering job training as part of a transitional employment program for vulnerable individuals. In 2021, Farmer Karl worked with women facing homelessness at Wasatch Community Gardens Green Phoenix Farm. Edenstreets Charter, the Declaration of Common Ground, aims to unite community-based farming efforts to address social challenges worldwide. Alongside Edenstreets, Farmer Karl and his wife Rita, who I saw, there's Rita, she moved, operate Faircrest Farms, which cultivates exceptional organic vegetables while contributing to a vibrant local food community. And I will testify to the vibrancy of their lettuce. And then with 17 years of experience as a sport and performance psychology consultant, Rachael Dixon has had the privilege of working with athletes, corporate professionals, and individuals to develop the mental skills necessary for success. Her expertise in motivation, goal setting, confidence, and resilience has helped countless individuals unlock their potential and perform at their best. She firmly believes that with the right tools, support, and self-determination, anyone can achieve personal and professional growth. That's why she is incredibly excited about the opportunity to work with Edenstreets Growogden, an organization with an urban farm that empowers individuals through skill building, teamwork, and sustainable practices, helping people cultivate not only crops, but also confidence, purpose, and stability. This work aligns with her passion for fostering growth and transformation in others. I'm going to turn the time over to Carl and Rachael.
Thank you so much, Carla. And it means so much to me that you're here trying to figure out how we can make this world a better place. More sustainable, not just environmentally, but also connection with people. And I want to just, before I dig in, I want to just acknowledge the people that are going to be co-presenting with us. Rachael, you now see her up front. And she's every bit of that bio and more. And then we have Dani Zabalian. She's representing our volunteers who work at Growogden. And then we have Collett Anchando right here. She's an actual intern working at Growogden right now, so she can share from her personal experience. Then we have Leslie. Leslie is, she's a partner with us, so she leads the EOS Serenity Lodge, the recovery program that helps them feed our program. so that we get people into stable jobs. So with that, yes, this slide is really important because there's an Eden, Utah right up there, and this has nothing to do with Eden, Utah, okay? Everybody thinks, oh yeah, you're up in Eden. No, this is the Garden of Eden, and all that symbolism that it means is what we're trying to do is build gardens of Eden in every city around the world, at least cities that have vulnerable people, and I think that pretty much includes all of that. And so I wanted to talk about our mission and vision and then how Growogden fits into that. So I'm going to take a little bit more time here on this slide. We relaunch lives through farming, and when I say relaunch, I'm talking about people who somehow for some reason get stuck and they can't go on in their lives. And this is an opportunity for job training, transitional employment, and reconnection to a workforce, to be able to pay rent, and to be part of society. And so we empower communities to grow food, jobs, connections, and hope through farming. So the first part is the food. You'll see that the jobs is we give people meaningful purpose and work. The next part is the connections, because when you start working with others on the farm, this farmily forms, and then the hope through farming, you get your hope back in life and motivation to change and move on. And so at the community level, Growogden functions as a way where we have a place to gather to do this work. The vision is that these farms are everywhere, and we have an association level, so there could be other farms besides Growogden, a Grow Denver, a Grow Los Angeles, a Grow, because we have the model, and this is what we're sharing with other people. Next slide. So that's why people say, what's the difference between Growogden and Edenstreets? Edenstreets, Growogden is a project of Edenstreets, and we hope to have Project Grow Midvale, Grow Denver, etc. So I just wanted to distinguish this. Now, there's so much to talk about. We're not going to get to it all. We have the model, we have the metrics, we have performance, how people change, but we're going to focus on the nuts and bolts of Growogden. So everything beyond this is really Growogden. Let's go to the next thing. Rachael, do you want to speak to this?
Absolutely. People are whole and complete, and we look at people as whole, even though they each come with stories, experiences, perceptions, beliefs. So we address the physical, the social, the mental, and spiritual as we build a curriculum around what their needs are. And so it's one of the fascinating things about doing this work is that somebody may be coming with all of their life experience, and when we're working with them in our Growogden program, we are looking at them as that whole person, not just one aspect, which is why we do things like professional growth, we do the farming, we teach about nutrition, hygiene, all the things that are needed in order to be successful and to feel that you can get up out of bed, know who you are, know what your skills are, and continue to grow. I was speaking to our interns yesterday and I said, welcome to adult development. I think we talk all the time about kids and youth and adolescent development. Guess what? Every single one of us in here, we are this person. We're just in different places in each one of these areas. So that's how we approach.
So I think,
Sorry.
no, this is it. So this, where do we touch all these things? It's the next slide. It's
Yes.
in the farm. This farm has this magical thing. I'm going to tell a little story. In 2017, I had this idea, we got to help kids with gardening. And so in Philadelphia, in downtown Philadelphia on a 6-acre campus, I worked with kids from inner city schools that came, 10 to 13-year-olds, and we grew carrots, and we put our hands in the soil, and we touched worms, and they turned like this to, this is so cool! And after 3 years of doing this, I realized that there's some magic. I call it the life force. There's something about working in the soil, about growing your own food, about being part of creation that expands us and heals us and grounds us. And there's lots of studies about grounding, walk barefoot in the soil, all that stuff. But you can see that all these elements happen on the farm, and that's the magic of this place. So that healing from trauma and forgetting the past and putting that behind us and moving forward with a new life is made more possible at the farm than almost any other setting. So I put this picture here. Has anybody planted a seed and seen you water it, and holy smokes, 3 days later, there's something coming out? You know, this is so crazy. It seems so simple, but it's a miracle. And what we're training our interns to do is see the miracles happening, and that we're part of this life miracle. So I call it the life force. Next slide.
Introducing Dani.
Oh, yes. So Dani, why don't you come up and share a little bit? She's been with us for now 3 years, building Growogden, transforming it, and making it everything it needs to be. Dani, do you want to just share some remarks about your experience?
Yeah, thank you, Karl. So hi everybody, my name's Dani Zeblin. I'm one of the long-term volunteers with Growogden. I actually first met Karl and Rita at the Ogden Farmers Market, I think during the first year you guys moved here, when Growogden was just in this 3-ring binder. And they had a table and you could flip through the binder, and Karl was giving a sales pitch, and it really aligned with what my interests are. I have a big interest in urban farming, so producing food within our local communities, as well as being there to give people a hand up when they're ready for it. And so what am I doing to help better everybody else? About, I think it was 3 years ago that Growogden got the land agreement with the First Presbyterian Church. So on 28th and Quincy, they are allowing us to have the farm on some property that is not currently being used by the church. So most of my work with Growogden has actually been in the infrastructure side of it. So once we had the land, clearing it, making it level, building grow boxes, and to this picture last year, where we absolutely tripled how much square footage we have to grow.
Excellent. And watch out, with a drill in her hand and a nail gun, she can build anything. So thank you, Dani. Appreciate it.
Okay, and thank you, Carl and Rita, for creating and building this farm together.
Okay, yeah. She represents 170 volunteers who came last year to offer over 570 hours worth of service, building this farm so that we have a place to relaunch people. So thank you, Dani. Next. So, yes, you want to talk to that?
This is probably one of the most common questions that I get when I just try to describe what I do within the Growogden organization, Edenstreets Growogden. And that is, how is it that we hire our interns? How is it that we find people that are interested in this type of opportunity? And I'll tell you, it starts with our community partners, because we have different organizations that are doing good in their lane and in their field of expertise, and we can reach out to them and say, we're about to start our grow season. We'd love for you to pass on our application to some of the people that you're serving within that organization, whether it's a recovery center, it's a homeless shelter, it's a mental health facility. We are looking for partnering with people that interact and are serving populations that can be vulnerable. So we start by reaching out to those. We review, and I say we review a lot of applications. Farmer Karl helps me with that too. And we have just a process in which we're trying to get to know that person a little bit through the application process. And then from there, we set up interviews, and then we have to make these really, Farmer Karl talks about the seed and that you're holding it in your hand, and I hold people in my hand, because I'm the one that ultimately says, yes, you're in our program, and sadly, no, this isn't the right time for you, because we cannot take a huge group. We're still looking for the resources to be able to expand our organization, but any grow season, we're helping between 6 to 8 people. And then we start. So that's the process. So just giving you some context, this year alone, we had 23 applicants that came through, that got to my view. From there, we offered 14 interview slots so people could come in and interview to be in the internship opportunity. And then from that 14, we selected 8. And so that is a little bit about our process in which we identify. And our interns asked me a great question. They said, Rachael, what would make somebody not get this? You know, because I told them, I'm like, you guys, this is you if you're sitting in this room. And I said, it really comes down to timing. There's a timing to this and a readiness, and that's something that we take very serious. I mean, we take that into a lot of consideration. And I'm charged as the job training supervisor with the professional development. And this is a load that this is a responsibility I take very seriously. Because as a performance consultant, I truly do believe and have seen over 2 decades of consulting that with proper tools, motivation, self-determination, having a vision for what your life could be, that it can be that. And I build the curriculum around this idea that we can build these human skills. I always say this: confidence is it's not an experience. Confidence is a skill. If you wait to feel confident, guess what? Your life's gonna look like this. When you know what you're good at, then you have the skill of confidence and you can tackle the hard. So we talk about tackling hard. Our curriculum is structured with themes. Our big theme this past, well, Collett might be able to speak to that too, but this week, we're just talking about habits, healthy habits. One of our interns, I'm so proud of her. She's an adult, she's a mother of 2. Guess what she says her goal is this week? Brush her teeth twice a day. And you know how invested into that goal I am, and I mean it to the soul of my being, because that's her goal. That is what's gonna help her show up for herself in her life. That's where she wants to start, and I say amen to that. So we provide the structure. We adapt it to real time, real life. Something I love about curriculum is it's structured, but it's real. And if it isn't real, if it isn't flexible, then it's a robot, and then we aren't working with people anymore. So that's part of the 16-week program, is that we adapt to what they need in real time. Daily routines is critical. We hit the mat at 3 p.m. with yoga. That's how we start. And our interns know that as they move throughout the 16-week program, the stability of our daily routine becomes like an anchor to them as they develop healthy habits throughout the rest of their day. And then we integrate this throughout the whole day on the farm, which I'll talk about here in just a second. Just so you guys know, we are going to give a chance for questions at the end. So if anything in here, you're like, oh, I'd like to know a little more about that, write those questions down, or like wink at me and I'll call you when we do the Q&A stuff. Our framework is around this concept of NOURISH, which was coined by Jolene Park. If you ever get the chance to look at her TED Talk, it's fantastic. But throughout the 16 weeks, we integrate that whole person. Everything that whole person needs. They need the nature. We do a lot of breathing. Unite with others. Everybody in this room right now, we're uniting with others. This charges a battery somehow. Some of my introverts are like, that's not true. But you're here. And so the energy and the vibrancy of connection gives you, in that moment, what you need. And we really like to invite the united family. We replenish with good food, and we do that through amazing volunteers who bring a meal to us at the end of our shift, and we eat together. We sit and we eat. Especially when Rita cooks, we are all ready. We are all ready to go. We do the movement through yoga. We sit in stillness and harnessing your creativity. Our interns get a lot of say in what we grow and where we grow and how we pick it and what we do, because creativity sparks the brain, starts to help you access that right side of the brain where you're like, hey, all these things are possible. And then the last one is just this quick step. This is just a daily interaction with us. We start with yoga, then we go to group, which is professional growth. That's the 16-week curriculum. And then we have our farm work from 4:15 to 5:30, following our is cleanup and family dinner. I think it's back to, oh,
Yes.
okay, I'm sorry, I'm like Karl, I'm introducing Collett, okay? So I'm gonna embarrass Collett just a little. Come up here, girl. When Collett came in for an interview, I think the staff, it took us all about 30 seconds to realize, oh, heck yes. Collett impressed us so much, not only with her vulnerability, but with her commitment to what her life could be. And when you can just see that and feel that in somebody, you're like, she's ready and is ready to lead out in it. And so it's truly my pleasure and honor to introduce Collett, and then you get to share your story.
Hi, I'm Collett. Farmer Karl, Eos, and Rita, and the volunteers, and Rachael, I just want to thank you guys. And I'm so grateful for this program. I'm a recovering, I'm new at this, so I'm just going to tell you. I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. People in my position, our biggest blessing becomes our biggest barrier, because we end up in jail, but jail saves our lives. It gets us off the drugs, it gets us off the alcohol, but then when we're introduced into the world, we have that barrier that nobody really wants to, they see your charges and it's a wrap for them. But through EOS, I went to EOS, the rehab, and I found EOS in jail. So I was just truly blessed when I got arrested, because my life had went downhill completely. I was a mess, I was a wreck, but I was so strung out into the drugs I couldn't stop on my own. But I ended up in jail, which is my blessing, my biggest barrier. And I found EOS, and they dealt with trauma and drug addiction. It's a 90-day program, and I was so willing, because I had trauma from childhood from my parents, and it was, pretty dramatic trauma. I went to EOS, and I remember thinking, this is gonna be the opportunity of a lifetime. We don't have caffeine, sugar, or nicotine. Like, you really feel your feelings. And then, so I'm getting into EOS, like, it's great, And then I hear that we get to go volunteer at a farm, a garden farm. And I was like, oh, that's great, because I'm from the country. I'm like, that's great. Yeah. So we go over to Farmer Karl's and Rita's, and we meet them, and they're just so inviting and so welcoming. They're not looking at my barrier, my biggest barrier. They're really looking at me as a person. And for the first time in my life besides EO, I was like, wow, I have a chance in life. Somebody's really looking at me, not my charges. So I go through EOS for the 90-day program. I deal with my trauma, and it was on the last day of the volunteer at Rita and them's, and I was digging through the dirt, and I was like, and it's magic. It really is magic. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgive my parents. And, and I was like, I forgive my parents. I was digging in the dirt, and something magical just happened, and I forgave my parents, and I was really able to move on and just really soar. And a week later, I graduated. I had went to the interview, and for once, they didn't look at my charges and go, oh, it's an iffy. They asked my charges, and they asked my story. They wanted to hear my story. And I am so grateful for this opportunity, because now that I have started Growogden, like Rachael says, we do growth goals. Our goal, I was never able to ask for help. If I asked for help when I was a child, I was always rejected and told no. So my biggest, I don't want to ask for help, but I have been. I asked for help for this speech, and I asked somebody what time it was. It's baby steps, and they're taking these baby steps with us. And it's like, the frost season. You got the end of the frost and the beginning of the frost, and you only can plant in that moment. And that's like what, coming from EOS, going into their sober living, it's like the frost season. We got that moment in time that it's gonna either make us or break us. And without Farmerly, we're gonna break. I like this place, Farmer Karl and Rita, like they have helped launch my life. When they say it's magical, it really is. And when we sit down at the end of the day, after we've worked and after we've done our growth skills, after we've done our yoga, and yoga's great. It brings us, centers us, and we are a family. Like we all started loving each other immediately because it's so pure and so real. And we come from the biggest barriers of our life. We're jailbirds. And we get to come together, and for once people are looking at us going, you are a person, and everything is noticed. Everything is noticed. So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you guys for coming and listening. This really is changing lives. It has changed my life, and I've only been in it 2 weeks now. And so, Leslie, I just want to say thank you for EOS. She was so kind when I got there. Like EOS and this garden, Growogden, it's great, you guys. I'm its biggest cheerleader. Thank you.
Okay, so part of the magic is these amazing people. I don't know how many of you raise your hand for a part-time job that's just not that great pay because you're in a nonprofit, but the people that do are unique, and I must say that powers beyond me pulled this set of people together. Rachael, you're just experiencing her. Tyler is a Utah State University graduate in environmental science, and she's done backyard gardens. She worked at Weaver watershed in terms of sustainable growth and plants. She's our farm manager, and Eve has about 20 years of experience, lived all over the world coaching people on relaunch. She keeps the confidential. She works through the bears. She goes to court to try to get records expunged. She works through every barrier that prevents that person from becoming employed stably. So together, this is the magic that makes it happen. And they consult every week. On Mondays, we have our meeting. We go through every person in the program. We say, what are their needs? What are their barriers? What can we do to design the farm this week for their success? So, just a transformation. This is the physical transformation this was an abandoned lot from the 60s, a preschool playground in the back of the First Presbyterian Church on 880 28th Street. This is what it looked like. We turned it into growing food. We grew 1,600 pounds of food for Catholic Community Services and the 200 people that access it regularly every week to get fresh food. Next. So, my pleasure to introduce Leslie. Leslie is just an amazing person, and another magical thing happened when she found Growogden and Edenstreets. I'll let her talk about her experience with Edenstreets.
Okay. My name is Leslie Burdick. About a little over a year ago, we started a treatment center here in Ogden for trauma and addiction, and I really wanted my girls to be able to work in a garden somewhere because I know how healing it is. So how I found Farmer Karl and Rita was I started searching for some service work, and we started working at the farm doing some service work. I'm on the board of Edenstreets, and I also work for EOS Serenity Lodge. We're a treatment center for addiction and trauma. I work really closely with our clients. I mentor a lot of women. I have a lot of lived experience in recovery and in addiction myself. I'm in recovery as well. I'm super passionate about this project because of my lived experience. I know where the gaps are. I know where we could improve more and show more support. And so I'm really excited about this project. there's this really fragile time when you get out of residential. I know by experience, a really fragile gap, a fragile time when you get out and you move into sober living and you got to find a job and you got to start paying rent and it can feel very defeating because it's really hard to get a job with a record or criminal past and stuff like that, and it can feel defeating, and it takes a lot of our people out. And so that's where Growogden and Edenstreets kind of jumps in for me. I knew this would be a great idea, right? But now I get to see it unfold and see the impact that it's actually really doing for our friends. It's not only impacting the interns, like some of our girls got this opportunity straight out of rehab to hop in and be a part of this project. But it's not only impacting their lives. I see them come home. I'm also the living house manager at Sober Living, so I get to see these girls come home with just purpose and just hope for their future. But I can see it's not only affecting them, it's also affecting the other girls in the house that aren't part of this project, and it's pushing them to want to do better, and just the light that these guys bring home, it's just, I don't know, it's just become a really beautiful thing to be a part of, and I'm super glad to be part of it. And that's all I got.
Well, I think we can sit down now. We've had the main speakers. Can you tell what's going on? And I don't know what's empowered me, but what inspires me is these women and men whose lives are markedly better and they have hope, and that's what drives me. That's my pay, actually, just hearing these witnesses. We're at Weber State University for a reason. There's incredible resources here. This town of Ogden, I did the original, where do we place the pilot farm for Edenstreets in Utah? And Ogden came out tops for so many reasons. The two rivers, the university with a social work program, with so many wraparound services for homelessness. This is an incredible place. We have an amazing mayor. We have a Weber County Homelessness Local Council. They're all working together in incredible ways, and it's a complex, very complex situation. But we're on the part of, we're the pathway out of poverty. We're the empowering agent. We're not just gonna give them a fish, we're gonna teach them how to fish so that they can get their own fish and feel confident again about their ability. So kudos to Weber State. Presbyterian Church has given us 2 grants, not only the property, but has allowed us to build our little high tunnel. They get the vision, and it's bringing life to that whole campus. They said, we have this resource. How do we make it available to the community? Pastor John Draskovich, an amazing man who has a vision about community. And then Catholic Community Services sending, we hope to supply 2,500 to 3,000 pounds of food this year from our little farm. And then these are 2, yes?
Can you speak just for a quick minute, since we're at a sustainability summit, and there are a lot of sustainable, like environmental pluses to this farm as well, which I know that's not necessarily your passion, but it's really a big part of it.
You know the trifecta, right? There's like, it's a win on so many dimensions. Well, this is like a non-effecta, okay? 9 dimensions of benefit. And one of those dimensions is the environment. Growogden is an education center for environment. Is there any of our botany students here? We have an herb spiral garden that they're leading the design, and on Earth Day they're going to introduce how culinary and medicinal herbs can be planted in your backyard with QR code lookups to learn all about how do I grow in space and at the same time be healed. So everything we do is organic. We compost. Compost is a huge analogy for our lives. We take what's worthless, what's seemingly worthless, we go through a process and we come out with black gold. And that black gold is full of life. That's the analogy, and there's so many other analogies on the farm. We're taking care, we're also a federal certified wildlife habitat. We have Habitat Hero for Audubon Society. So we want to demonstrate we are friends with creation, okay? And the more connected we are with creation, the more life force we have within us. That's the power of what the work that we're doing. So thanks for the question. So again, conquering homelessness has to do with a united community from all these aspects. I'm thrilled to have Rosemary Lesser here. She's a former representative from House District 10, and she is on our board as well. And she has helped connect us to the state legislature and others to get this work in other places in Utah and get it supported. Next. So, I think we're to Q&A. I could have given you all the models and all the metrics and all the numbers, but I didn't think you really wanted it. I think you wanted to feel the magnitude of this work. And I'm just so thrilled and honored to be part with Rachael, with Gina, our community education, a community engagement coordinator. My wife is an incredibly brave person. And again, these delightful women who are making a difference. There's a board, there's a leadership team that make this possible in our backyard here in Ogden. So thank you. So,
do you guys have any thoughts, any questions, anything that kind of sparked your curiosity about?
How long? I didn't catch. 16 weeks?
16 weeks.
But when did you start your vision?
Okay, so Edenstreets was incorporated in 2020 after 3 years of farming in inner city Philadelphia and saying, this is too good to be true. I said, what if this works so well on children, what if it worked on adults? And so 2020, so we celebrated 5 years. Thank you.
Growogden didn't start until 2023.
Yeah.
Yes, so the farm is 3 years old.
How was it funded?
Great question. Okay. Tiny nonprofits usually start with a preference to individual donors or contributors because nobody knows us, nobody knows if we're going to make it or not. So right now we're about 60% funded individual giving, 40% grants. And those grants came from Key Bank and America First Credit Union and Williamson Foundation, the Sorensen Foundation, others along the way. Thank you.
So I'm kind of curious about the metrics actually. How big is this lot? It's just one property.
Could you
right?
pull up that slide? There's a program slide and then the metrics. We are on a quarter of an acre. Okay, so you don't need a lot of space to grow on a lot of food, right? That's some of the paradigms. We need a tractor to grow, to farm, but no. This is urban farming, and I specialize in intensive organic vegetable farming. So we're proving that you can make even a livelihood out of urban farming.
We're excited that we have 2 working wheelbarrows.
There's
I'm also going to put that out there.
There's a backup slide way in the back that
great.
talks about, just for metrics, keep going, there it is.
Oops, sorry, that was me.
Okay, so we had 41 volunteer events last year, 162 volunteers, 504 hours, we produced 1,601 pounds. We had 5 community events, one of them is the Earth Day coming up. We have a Fall Farm Fest, and we had people who need community service hours to work off whatever the court orders, and so we were able to be that for them. Family dinners, this is an example of a family dinner, and you know, we're serving people. When you eat together, this amazing connection happens. Yes?
What do you do with the food you grow?
Good question. So Catholic Community Services is what we donate that to. We really, other than we eat what we can, because completing the circle, I plant the seed, I water it, it grows, I take care of it, and then I harvest it and I put it in my salad, or eat a tomato sandwich. There's something psychological about that, right? You get that? So we really want to have our family dinners be composed of fresh food from the farm. But that's a very small part of the 1,600 pounds that goes to Catholic Community Services. They have a food pantry.
One of the cool aspects too that I hear from our interns is many of them themselves have been and needed to use the Catholic Community Services. And so for them to then be able to grow food that gives back to the very organization that they have needed, it completes something for them. There's this reciprocal opportunity that I needed it and it was there for me, and now I'm in a place where I can grow it and give it back. So we love our partnership with Catholic Community Services.
And they're thrilled. They're fun to work with. They at the dock, oh, it's Farmer Carl. He got his food. Okay. Any other questions?
Are you planning to extend this into other communities, other towns? Are you looking other places?
Yes. So crawl, walk, run model, right? We're in the pilot stage. We are proving concept, and even from last year to this year, we have made dramatic changes in the age range of who we hire and the length of time and the farm day structure. Rachael is a professional about life coaching, and so we're adapting and proving concept so that last year we were about 40% success rate and stable, getting them to stable employment. We want to be at 60%. The best in class is Homeless Garden Project in Santa Cruz, California, with 33 years of operation. They relaunch 17 people every year, and their success rate is 98%. In other words, 2% end up back homeless. You show me a program that has better than that track record. And so they have donated to the world a 240-page book about how they do it. We're now trying to take what's the minimum viable model that you don't need a ton of money. Their budget is close to $2 million, okay? Our budget.
We would totally take $2 million. I just want to put that out there.
Our budget is pushing that $100,000. So we are doing incredible things with a tiny budget, and a lot of people are just giving their time to make this happen. But what we want to do is say, what is the minimum amount of money, and what's the structure, this leadership team on the staff, the 3 people, that's part of the model that we are defining for the world, so that this can be a grow Denver and a grow Portland and a grow Los Angeles. Wherever homelessness is a big factor, we think city leaders should be very interested in this. Yes?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your stories.
Yes, straight from the heart. And that's what we call ourselves Farmily, because it's relationship based. It's not a resume and no, yes, no. These are people, and it's human-centric. So thank you. Rosemary.
One of the other exciting things that you're doing, I think most of when they're talking about Catholic Community Services, that's the Northern Utah's contract with the Utah Food Bank. But what makes this so exciting is that this gives people who are accessing the food bank access to some wonderful, organic, freshly grown food, and nothing against canned foods or anything like that, but for anybody who's had freshly harvested food, it is a wonderful eating experience. And so I think it's so great that you're giving back to people and allowing them to have access to really good food at a time when they're really struggling. So
yes,
thank you for doing that.
Spoken by a medical doctor. The food we eat can be the medicine for our bodies. You're at this conference, you probably are in the choir singing this with me, but food is medicine, and we want food to be whole. And most of the food that's out there is hollow or less than full, okay? And so nutrient-dense food heals people. It heals them in their soul and in their body. So that's the magic of the farm, and actually growing food is so powerful. Thank you.
Friend, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse or anything, but I know there's a lot of farmers in Utah right now who are just kind of growing alfalfa, and it's like, and I know that like if we want to do things like Save the Great Salt Lake, we really need to reach out to farmers and help like work with them and not make them the enemy, but also work to figure out how to make our system better. Do you have any advice on working with those people and how to fix this stuff without being like attacking the farmers?
Yes, and it's called Red Acre Center. You should find out about Red Acre Center. It's a nonprofit, and these two women who run their own intensive organic biodynamic vegetable farm in Cedar City are changing the face of agriculture in Utah.
It was Red Acre Center?
Red Acre Center. Her name is Cimbria Patterson, and they're 12 years conferences. We went a third year in a row. They're going to our legislators and our Senate and identifying 21 bills this year that allow small farmers to succeed. You see, it's hard to make a profit as a farmer because there's another industrial ag system that sits over top. And so there's a lot of motivators that lock farmers in a certain situation that they'd like to do organic if it were profitable, but they don't see a way out. So we're building the bridge. We're talking with Farm Bureau. We're talking with the big agriculture, Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, and we're trying to make peace and build an agricultural future for Utah. In the 60s, the number was 40% of our food came from Utah. Right now, it's 2.3% of the food we consume comes from Utah. So just the number there.
Just a note on, they have a conference every year, Red Acre Center, and Simran always includes people who are not small local farmers, because she does really see the value and importance, and she doesn't want people to judge each other, right? This is where we are, let's do what we can. So she invited this year a person who is very successful doing completely organic wheat, right? And he gave beautiful presentations, and he has a lot of acres. So, and she also will introduce people, she's doing a lot to try to build that bridge, because again, they're stuck too. They have it really hard, and so does a small farmer. So we have to learn how to work together. And as far as water, absolutely, the small farmer has the advantage, right? We can use drip irrigation. And we grow a lot of vegetables. It's much better water conservation to grow vegetables than it is to grow grass, right?
We've turned our front yard into clover, which uses 1/10 of the water and looks greener than normal grass. So again, we gotta change our mindset. We're not in England, this is Utah, right? Okay, I think we're close to time. Do we have just time for one or two questions? I love your questions. There's so much to share, you can tell. I'm a little passionate about this. Yes?
I'm curious about how you got into this.
Okay, so.
In a nutshell.
Yes, I grew up in Berks County, Pennsylvania. At 10 years old, I was reading Organic Gardening magazine cover to cover. And my Mennonite neighbors were supplying us milk and eggs. Okay, I lived on a farm with 2 horses. She's a horse. Anyway, and then I took my ASVAB test in 7th grade. And they said, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a farmer. And they said, the test results came back, you should be an engineer or a doctor. So I took a 33-year detour and learned a lot about how to lead organizations, and then came back and said, I still want to be a farmer. So COVID hit, After my 3 years of Philadelphia experience, I said, I see 150 farms across the country doing farming, what we call farming with a social mission. So they take those veterans with PTSD, they put them to work in the soil. They take people out of prison, they take refugees, right? There's a farm, New Roots Farm in Salt Lake. They take teenagers, that's in Montana. I've connected now these 150 farms, and that's the goal. We haven't had a conference yet. We're all doing our work, slugging away, and so Edenstreets is that association with farmers with social missions to share, to build, to educate, to share, develop the model so it can be replicated throughout the world.
Thank you.
Let's thank our speakers.